everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to talk about some practical knife skills. I really believe that once you're most comfortable using your knife, your cooking and your creating in your kitchen will just skyrocket and get better. So today what I want to talk about is just a little bit of basic knife safety. I want to introduce you to my 3 favorite knives, and I want to sort of go over with you about how you set up a safe cutting surface that'll lead to your success in the kitchen. So let's get started by talking about some safety tips. First of all, you never run with a knife, of course. Second of all, when we carry a knife, we always carry a knife tip down. We never carry it swinging it around in the kitchen. One of the most important things I like to teach to the kids or the people when I'm doing classes is, remember when you're cleaning up your board, never put your knife in the sink. And the scenario is a soapy, water-filled sink that I put a knife into and walk away. My friend who goes to wash something else in the sink plunges her hand in, and I don't have to tell you any more from there. So just remember, never put a knife in the sink, and that's really one of the biggest safety tips I can give you. Okay, so let's move on and talk about my 3 favorite knives, and then we'll talk about how we set up a cutting station, as I like to call it. So there are so many different kinds of knives out there, it'll make people's heads spin, and they often ask me, how do you decide what knife to use? And the truth of the matter is, just by using the knife, you decide which is your favorite knife. How it fits in your hand and how you get comfortable using it. And that's really pretty much how you can decide to buy a knife. You can go and buy the most expensive knife, or you can get a knife at IKEA that's $1.99, and it will do the work for you as well, as long as you're comfortable. And so that's what I want to teach you today. So the 3 knives that I like to have in my kitchen are, one, what we call a chef knife that comes in different blade lengths. It's really kind of the workhorse of the kitchen. It can do all your work for you and really only need 1 knife. Ideally, you might like a second type of knife, and I'll call this a serrated knife, or what we know as a bread knife. But it's not only for bread. Why this knife is helpful is it'll help you cut things like bread that are soft without squishing them while you're cutting them. But it also is really good at cutting through fleshy vegetables like tomatoes without smashing them, citrus fruit without giving them a smashed exterior as well. So a serrated knife is really a good one to have as well, not just for bread. And finally, I like the little paring knife. And a paring knife is just that. It does the paring work for you, or it'll peel, it'll core, it'll pull out seeds. And it's just it's a handy knife to have. A lot of what we do with the paring knife is use the tip rather than the blade, honestly. So those are my 3 favorite knives. In the next video we do, I'm going to show you how to use those knives a little bit more closely. But now let me show you how I like to set up my cutting station. Another a rule to practice is to never use a knife without a cutting board. And there are lots of different cutting boards, and that's a different video that we'll have to do if we want to talk about that. I kind of like these little inexpensive plastic ones. I can run them in the dishwasher. You can use them up until they get really old and used, and then you can toss them because they cost about $2.99, so you're not making a big investment. So that's why I like these. The other thing I like to make sure I do is to stabilize my board on my counter before I start cutting. And the way I do that is I simply use a wet paper towel or napkin, and I place it right under my cutting board. And it'll really stabilize the board. You'll see that if you try to use your cutting board on the counter without something under it, it's going to move. So anytime you then take your knife to your food item that you're cutting, it's going to be like chasing a ball down the street. So again, I suggest that you stabilize your cutting board with either a wet paper towel that'll hold it. And the other fun trick to use is a piece of this shelf liner paper, which you may have underneath the counter left over from before. It's pretty inexpensive. If these get kind of yucky from the kitchen, you can also just throw them in the dishwasher. They clean up really easy. And they do the same thing. So a piece under my board will do the same thing in stabilizing my board. So that's really the most important part of getting ready to use your knife in the kitchen. Stabilizing your board, selecting the knife that you like. And again, I showed you the 3 knives I like most. And my very favorite of all is my chef knife. And in the next video, we're going to talk about how you hold the knife, how you stabilize while you're cutting it, to make your cuts, your cutting in the kitchen and your cooking safe, but also to give you a lot of extra confidence and have you spend more time in the kitchen. So thanks for visiting, and be sure to tune in for our next video where we're again going to be talking about the knives, but I'm going to show you how to use them.